Hello everyone, my name is Shajwani. Welcome to the third episode of Unscripted Dialogues. Today with me I have Priyam and Pranav. It's a pleasure having you guys over here.
Pleasure to be here, Aditya.
Thank you for having us.
So let's get started with this episode in 3, 2, 1. Let's get started with the background then, Priyam.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I can get started, yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Priyam. I'm currently studying at the University of Manchester. I'd say I'm in my third year, but it's a bit confusing. So basically I'm doing my placement right now. So it comes between my second and third year. So it counts as a sandwich year. I'm doing my placement at Nationwide, which is the biggest building society in the UK. And I'm undertaking my placement in the credit risk team. Before coming to Manchester, I did my schooling, 11th and 12th, or year 12 and 13, however you want to refer to it, in the UK as well. Did my A-levels over here, and I studied, I think, chemistry, biology and maths. So it was a completely a big jump from that to finance and accounting at university. And prior to that, I was born and brought up in India. Lived in Gurgaon for most of my life, did my schooling over there as well. But yeah.
And what about you, Pranav?
Yeah, so hi guys, my name is Pranav. So I'm from University of Manchester. I'm in my second year. I'm studying accounting and finance as well. So I'll be graduating next year. This is my final year. So like Priyam, I'm also from India. And like him, again, I studied the non-finance courses like physics, chemistry, maths, and then a big jump to finance as well.
So how did you guys get into finance?
Oh, that's a very interesting question, and I'll have to open up the history book for that. So I never was really interested in finance before coming to university. I always wanted to become a footballer, and that's the only reason I came to the UK as well. So I after I did my 10th board exams, which are equivalent to GCSEs over here, I pushed my parents, and they were quite supportive of me as well, because I wanted to become a footballer. I wanted to go to the UK and play for Manchester United back in those days. 16-year-old, wanted to dream big. So came here to the UK, managed to tear my ACL within 1 year. First my right knee and then my left knee. And by the time I recovered, I was already in university, and I was, it was like a reality check. I'm like, there's no way I'm making it pro right now with both my knees gone, practically no club lining up for me. So I was like, okay, let me get into these courses. I was doing management at that time, so I hadn't picked up my specialism, and I studied marketing, economics, finance, a large variety of subjects. And what I did in that first year was sort of try to align my strengths with those subjects. And I found finance was naturally something I was good at. I'm good with numbers. I like to keep on learning new things. And I think finance is one of those areas where I think you wake up one day and all your prior knowledge could just be wiped out by simply one guy on the other end of the world. So I kind of like that. I like that, fast-paced environment where you're always pushed to learn. But at the same time, I think it aligns my strengths. So I think aligning your strengths and interests is what got me into finance. And ever since then, I think I've been getting more and more into it. And yeah, I think that's why I want to pursue a career in it as well.
That's great. Going from football to finance.
Yeah.
That's fair. What about you, Pranav?
Yeah, so like I said before, I studied the non-finance courses, physics, chemistry, maths. But then in my 11th and 12th, I got a feeling that this is not something I would like to pursue as a career, because although these subjects were quite fun, but I felt that I didn't enjoy it as much. So then I consulted with my parents, and I asked my uncles who are living in the UK itself that I have an interest in finance as well. And my uncle is working in PwC as well, so he's the senior manager and accountant. So he did his ACCA, and he said that, yeah, definitely, if you don't have interest in anything, there's no point in pursuing a career in it. So he recommended me, okay, if you have interest in finance, UK is a really good place to come, especially after the US, because London, obviously, we know that after New York, it's like the financial hub. Yeah. So then he told me, okay, accounting and finance is a good course. So I started researching more about different universities in the UK. And then since I didn't study the non-technical finance courses, so then I started shortlisting universities where I had more opportunity and like chance to get into it. So then Manchester was my top choice. So I got into Manchester University, and then that's how I got into finance itself. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you both find your course in the university?
I quite like mine, if I'm being honest. I solely chose my course because I wanted to play football, so I, not to offend anyone, I tried to go for the easier courses there were, and management was just one of them that allowed me a lot of time to focus on football, but at the same time has a lot of career options. So that's what sort of pushed me to go for that. And naturally, like I said, it sort of aligned my strengths and interests, so I just chose a specialism in my second year.
That's nice.
Yeah, and yeah, for me as well. So since I had not studied accounting before, it was quite tough at first. So we have in my first year I had courses financial reporting and management accounting. So those were quite challenging as well. But since I was quite good in mathematics, so the calculation part of it came quite handy. But apart from that, the other modules were quite interesting in my first year. So like Priyam, I went for easy modules. So I did business anthropology. Not a good option. Never take that again. I only took that because it had an online exam, essay based. So I took that itself. And in my first year itself, I did not study a lot because all the exams were online. So most of my time I just went like out with friends, badminton, and then as soon as IPL started, every day was all the games with my friends. So that's about it. Yeah.
Gujarat for the win.
Has to be Chennai, man.
RCB.
That's embarrassing.
Okay, so you're the president of the MUTUS society, and you are also a part of the society. So what is this society about? What do you guys do, and what is your like exact role?
Yeah. So yeah, MUTUS is an abbreviation. So it stands for Manchester University's Trading and Investment Society. It's been running for I think it's its 17th year now, or its 18th year now, and it was started by a group of students back in the day. And it's become the largest business and finance society at the university. We've got more than 5,000 members and alumni, and we've got our members placed in countless companies and industries. So it's grown into something that's massive and it's become a movement of sorts. I am the president of the society, so I got chosen last year, or elected, or recruited, however you want to put it. And I'm again going to be taking over next year as well as the president. I'm also the fund manager for the ethical investment fund that MUTUS runs. So the full form is MUTUS Ethical Investment Fund. So I'm also the fund manager over there. And the idea behind the fund was essentially, when we all come to university, there's one thing that we all lack is some sort of practical experience. I mean, we do a lot of learning on off the books. There's a lot of stuff we read in the textbooks, but there's not a lot of venues for us to go out and apply that. So a couple of my friends, they started this fund. I'm not going to claim credit for starting it, obviously. But they started off the fund, and I joined after a year and took up the fund manager position. I think we've grown that to about 80 members now. And we've published, I'd say, over 25 reports.
25 reports, yeah.
25 reports easily, and we're maintaining a virtual portfolio right now.
Okay.
But we're also in talks with countless people with regards to actual funding. To make, obviously, University of Manchester students more visible and provide more opportunities for students to get involved and hone their practical skills.
Yeah, so I'm the sector head of the consumer staples sector. So as Priya mentioned about the MEIF fund, so in an MEIF we have different sectors like technology, financials, consumer staples, healthcare, etc. So I'm the sector head of the consumer staples sector. So what exactly is my role? That I have 5 analysts under me. So we are given a timeline of 3 weeks to prepare an equity research report. And I give different types of roles to each analyst. So what an equity research report in simple terms is a small description about a company, how well it's doing, and what has been its past performance. So what we do exactly in MEIF is that we have different analysts who are given a certain task to do to contribute to the equity research report. So one person might be given company analysis, other person might be given industry analysis. So within those 3 weeks, the first week is just the screening week. So what usually our analysts do is that they get a period of 1 week, they screen for different stocks, and they submit me their stocks. And then I again do a quick due diligence on different types of stocks, and then I select one particular stock which our sector will be preparing the equity research report on. And then I make sure that my analysts are open to different type of roles, so I give them the opportunity to select what part of the report they want to be comfortable with, because I just don't want to allot one particular part to a person who does not know much about it, and then he'll just end up ruining his work as well. So I give my analysts the opportunity, like they have the open opportunity to select a particular part and work on it. So this way, the second week is just solely preparing equity research reports. And then third week is then since Priyam is the fund manager and we have other two, Anand and Ronit, so they are the fund managers of the fund. So third week is when we present our stock to the fund managers itself. And that's how the whole the cycle works. And usually recently itself we had Priyam and everyone, they worked really hard for our fund itself. So we have many different alumni from our University of Manchester. So in our previous investment cycle they had come, and then we had pitched to them as well. They have been working in hedge funds for various 5 to 10 years. So this is quite a good experience as well, because when a student comes to university, although yeah, he knows, okay, I'm studying finance, I'll do something in finance. But how would you approach that? So you have to take baby steps towards that, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the university society comes into play. And that's where we have our own society, or finance society. So this is like the baby steps which like a lot of first year students are part of. So we have in our society, we have a lot of first year students as well. So they join the society, then they start thinking differently. Okay, this is how it should be done. Because just reading the books and then applying to roles, it's like no use, right? So if you know like what exactly the society is and what exactly the role is, and when you actually get the opportunity to intern in a company, you'll be more comfortable rather than just reading the books, right? So that's how the society comes into play, and I'm really happy to be part of Priyam's team and the society as well. Yeah.
No, it's great that you guys are running the society so well, and the fact that many first years are joining, so they get to know how the finance field in person is rather than the bookish knowledge, and it's a very great initiative by both of you
Appreciate it.
and the other members as well. not taking credit from the others.
Nah, we don't give any credit on Ananda. I'm kidding.
Yeah. So, talking about experience, how important do you think the internships in the finance and the economics sector is?
You want to take that, Pranav? You want to?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was in my first year, so I did not know about how to approach like applying for internships. So first thing which I did was make LinkedIn. And I would recommend everyone who comes to university, make LinkedIn as soon as you join university, because I was quite late in making my LinkedIn. So since our course starts in September, I made my LinkedIn around January itself. So I was quite late in like knowing what spring weeks are. So spring weeks, I would say, are usually 2 to 3 days or 1 week long programs of a company for different companies where you can apply to, and it's quite competitive as well, because spring weeks are usually open to university students plus master students, so it's quite competitive in London. So although I thought my CV was quite good, because I don't know, I had a lot of experience back home as well. But then after getting several rejections, okay, this was very funny. So I applied to Morgan Stanley, I think in like January start, and then I got rejected within half an hour. My CV was so bad. Then I'm like, okay, no, I need to start developing. So what I did was I started connecting with different people on LinkedIn. I started saying, okay, what is your opinion on my CV? And they were like, no, bad. So taking different opinions, I started making my CV, and then after getting countless rejections, I was finally able to get 2 spring weeks. So one was at St. James Place, so that was for 3 days, that was in London itself, and another one was PIMCO, so that was online itself for 1 day. So these 2 spring weeks were something which I did in my first year. And after my spring weeks, I also wanted to utilize my summer itself, because I had seen a lot of people getting rejected from summer internships, and me being an international student, I know how hard it is for everyone, because if an international student applies to summer internship and he wants to work full time in the UK, company will have to sponsor his visa as well. We are not as privileged as domestic students over here, right? So then I wanted to make sure that my CV is up to date and like it's quite strong enough to compete with other students from the UK itself. So after my first year, I did my summer internship, first summer internship with Amplify Trading. So that's a small trading company in London itself. So that was remote. So I did that in India. It was like 3 weeks. And after that, I also wanted to make sure that I wanted to make my CV quite diverse. So Amplify Trading did the work for the corporate finance side of it, and then I wanted to do an accounting internship, because accounting is something which is like the base of finance, because that's how everything is connected. So back home, when I was in Bangalore, I did I did an internship in a small chartered accountancy firm. So these 2 were the summer internships I finished my first year. Yes, and apart from this, I'm also regularly like I take different extracurricular activities as well, like MEIF, I'm the sector head there, and then I also wanted to make sure that I'm not only doing studies in my first year, so just to make my mind fresh, so I joined the University of Manchester badminton team. So that's really good, because that was a really good, I would say, the good option from me, because it's something which runs throughout the year, and then we get to play matches with different students as well from different universities, and we get to travel every Wednesday to different places. So that was something I quite enjoyed. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, and just to sort of echo what Pranav said, and might be a little contradictory as well. So my journey was completely different into the financial industry. Like I told you guys, first year was nowhere close to where I wanted to be in terms of career wise, because I was focused more on football, and it was also when COVID hit. So it was back in India, so I wasn't even in Manchester doing my university. So everything was online, and I had no clue what spring weeks were, and just went through my first year completely blissful, no care in the world. But coming into my second year, when I started applying for placements, I sort of felt like I was a lot behind a lot of people, and what I saw, what the main difference was, a lot of these people had relevant experience. So that's what they called it, relevant experience in the financial services industry. There's people who've already done spring weeks and let's say JP Morgan, done summer internships or some sort of apprenticeship or something like that. and they're also applying for these placements or some internships that I'm applying for. And I was just I was very downtrodden. I was like, how do I compete with these guys? I've got nothing on my CV. But luckily what I'd done in the past was I'd always done things that interested me and I was really passionate about. So completely random, but I was quite passionate about social media marketing in when I was 13 or 14, and I worked at a small startup in India. Did a lot of work with them, completely unpaid, something I was really passionate about. So I had that on my CV. I did a lot of volunteering work with NGOs back in India where I taught underprivileged children football, how to play football. Had that on my CV. And I worked as I don't know what you call it, but I served popcorn at cinemas because I love watching movies, and my dad loves to watch movies as well. So he managed to get me a job at serving one of those popcorns, and I serve popcorns, and in my break time, just go and watch movies. So I had that sort of stuff on my CV to this day, and that's what I used to apply for the placements. Okay. And what I observed was the difference between me and all of the other guys, or a lot of the other people, was that they had these experiences and they'd done it solely to just get a line on their CV. There's a lot, they're like doing this or that, but there's only a line on the CV for them, right? Okay. And for me, it was something I was passionate about. So when I was in those interviews, when I was talking about my experiences, you can always get transferable skills. They'll ask you, tell me about a time you worked in a fast-paced environment. I told them about the time I was selling popcorn, They told me a time when I had to be a good listener. I told them about, how I'm used to listening to my girlfriend speak for long hours. Stuff like that. So it was just how you tell your story and how you pitch yourself, I think, is very important. I mean, having those internships is a huge bonus. I would say that. But even if you don't have it, I'd say go for things that you're more passionate about, because when it comes to interviews, it's very easy to get your passion across, and those skills, you can find them anywhere. So there's something I tell a lot of people is there's no such thing as relevant experience for all of us at our age. It's about how relevant you make it. So that's what I found in my experience. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm the next sort of Warren Buffett or anything, but I was still able to land quite a few roles. I don't know how many assessment centers, I lost count. I got how many offers, but at the end of the day, I got where I wanted to be. Okay. And it was purely through, I think, the type of experiences I had rather than what I had, Yeah. So I'd say, yeah. So it's sort of echoing what Pranav said, having those experiences is important, but sort of aligning your interests as well. Okay. It's the theme that I'm going for here is also important at the same time.
Those are very great insights.
Yeah, I would just like to add something which Priyam just said. So he mentioned about how he worked in the popcorn, he's like serving popcorn. So I would say no job is considered very small or very big, yeah? So although I had experiences as well, but these what Priyam did, those skills actually come in handy when you start in the industry. Okay. Because I'm serious. So he was working in the popcorn industry, you have to talk to customers in a very polite way, even if they are being rude. So the communication skills, being polite, although like people are screaming at you, these all skills are really necessary, not only for finance industry, it can be like tech industry or like healthcare industry, for example. So I would say always, like if you have interest in any particular field, go for that itself, rather than just saying, okay, I just need to strengthen my CV, which I did. So that was quite, I would say, I should have also had an open mind and maybe done something which improved more on my soft skills as well, like how Priyam worked in the popcorn place, and then he improved more on his communication skills, and he's a really good public speaker. Like his public speaking is up to date, because he's like, as you mentioned, he's a MUTUS president society. So these small skills which come from your own different type of experience rather than the professional experiences, these are actually key if you want to work in any industry, not just finance industry. So that was just I wanted to add.
No, I agree. Soft skills, like in any field, are extremely important, and communication, I think, is one of the most crucial skills which I learned when I came over here. Like I could not talk to people, so trying and talking to different people helped.
Definitely, yeah. And like again, sort of having those different variety of again, going back to my experience, working with those underprivileged children, I had to sort of use different sort of, I'd say, communication techniques. Working when I was selling popcorn was completely different. Working when I was in that social media marketing company was completely different. So having those sort of skills is quite important. I think a lot of people focus today on IQ, but there's another thing that I like to focus on is CQ, which is cultural quotient. Slightly, I'm probably going to take it slightly out of context, but it's just how to interact with different people who come from different backgrounds is also very important to succeed in today's world. And like you mentioned, how important soft skills are. I'm personally a person who always outweighs the soft skills over the technical skills. Okay. Technical skills are important. Not saying that you can get into a big bank without knowing what a financial statement is, but I'd say a person who knows how to convey themselves, how to communicate, how to work in an environment, how to work in a team, is always going to excel. And you can always pick up the technical skills. I'm not saying they're not important, but again, I'm somebody who always gives more weightage to those sort of things. Because I feel like I've developed those technical skills, but the soft skills is what got me this far, This far, wow. But yeah.
MUTUS president.
But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to add one more point, if that's fine. So, like Priyam just spoke about the so just the way Priyam just spoke about the technical part of it. So definitely, like if you want to work for, let's say, like you're the managing director of JP Morgan, and I'm applying to JP Morgan as well. And in my interviews, if you don't like me as a person, you won't take me. I can learn the technical skills while working in the bank itself. I'll have analysts, associates teaching me. But if I'm not if I'm not a likable person, and if I'm not someone who someone enjoys working with me, why would you take them? You would rather take someone who is like, okay, his technicals are not strong. He can learn them in the job itself. Yeah. But at least he's nice. He's a nice person. He's a nice person. He can he's a good teamwork player. So I feel these all are. Like obviously, I would say in my opinion as well, soft skills are of higher importance than the technical part of it, because technical skills you can obviously learn in the job itself. Yeah.
There's one advice I would like to give the audience: learn how to sell yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think because Pranav was mentioning, so going back to the MEIF investment pitches, we were doing this investment pitch in front of the advisory board, which is our consists of alumni from our university. And I think somebody asked you after the pitches, we had like some Q&A time, and one of the people asked, like, I think it was along the lines of, what do you need to succeed in the industry or succeed in your career? And I think so we had somebody who was quite experienced. He's now consulting different investment funds. He answered the question, and he was talking about how you sell yourself, and he was talking about how he learned the skill to sell, and he was just talking about how he used to sell fish and cheese, was it? Something like that.
Yeah, I was not there.
Huh?
I was not there.
Oh, you weren't there? Okay. He was selling fish and cheese in America. And that's how he learned the skill to, he got the skill to, that's how he learned how to sell things, including himself. And I remember he's just talking about it, and he's like, oh yeah, and the guy who taught me how to sell was Jordan Belfort. Wow. And we all just sat there, and I was taking a note, and all of us just looking at each other. He just name dropped Jordan Belfort out of nowhere. And we're all going crazy. But he also said that the most important skill you can have, or one of the best skills you can have, is how to sell yourself. Yeah. And again, you have to be very in touch with who you are and what you want in order to do that, because otherwise it comes across as fake and not genuine. And as the more genuine you sound, the easier the communication is, the easier it is to sell yourself. But yeah, that definitely, I agree with you. Selling yourself is very important. Learning how to sell yourself.
Wolf of the Wall Street is a good watch.
Yeah, definitely. One of my favorite
movies. Not in front of your parents.
And say no to drugs. We at this podcast do not support drugs.
Oh. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Okay. So, we know finance is a very diverse field. What is the specific thing you are interested in? What's your niche?
I say when people ask me this question, I often say I'm still figuring it out, because if you'd asked me this question 1 year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 weeks ago, I'd probably have given you different answers. But as of right now, I'd say it's a very broad area. I would say I'm very interested in asset management. Okay. It's one of the areas I'm really interested in. Particularly, I say equity research under that is something I'm definitely looking at, because I quite like looking at companies and seeing what researching what makes them tick and what's going to make them tick in the future, as well as identifying different themes and ideas or drivers for the future. So that's something I really enjoy doing, just doing research and finding things, learning new things. So I feel like equity research is definitely one of the places I would want to go as of today. Okay. But I feel like this answer might change in 2 or 3 weeks if something new pops up, if I learn something new, if I find something new. But yeah, as of today, that's something I would definitely want to do after I graduate.
Well, I hope it does not change. Let's hear about the field.
Let's see, yeah.
You? What about you?
Definitely. So in my first year, I was also quite excited. Like the first experience, I wanted to go into the glamorous jobs, investment banking, asset management, big money. Yeah. So then I stuck to that itself. So like I said, I did the internship in corporate finance. So that's investment banking comes under corporate finance itself. So right now I'm in my second year. So I applied mostly to the investment banking internships itself. So this was quite wrong, I would feel, and I shouldn't have done this, because the amount of rejections you get in investment banking is actually quite a lot. And it's because first thing, I wanted to do something challenging. So I actually want to experience what it's like working in investment banking. Why are people talking about it? Why is it so challenging? So this was my approach. So that's why I stuck only to investment banking, and I applied to only investment banking internship my second year. But I shouldn't have done that, because usually if you apply to only investment banking, you get rejections quite fast, and it's quite competitive as well because the roles are less. Plus you have people who have already prior investment banking experiences, and plus they are master students as well. So it gets a lot more difficult to apply to these jobs. And if I would have applied to different types of, like if I would have diversified my application process, like if I would have applied to few accounting roles or like insurance roles or like asset management, equity research, like Priyam had mentioned, so then maybe I had a chance before itself. But luckily, hopefully, last month itself, I got an offer from Santander and luckily I'm going to work with Santander in the investment banking division. But my recommendation to any student would be definitely have a broader vision. Don't let yourself stuck to only one side of it. Like, don't let yourself like, okay, I want to get only to investment banking. There are other parts of finance as well which you might actually enjoy over investment banking. And definitely so I would not say I would be stuck with investment banking for a longer time. If I don't like the job in investment banking, I would definitely change my role, or I'll do something which I quite enjoy. It's not about the money, but it's more about what you actually enjoy.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Congratulations again for
Thank
the
you so much. Thank you so much.
Well, while he was getting rejected by investment banking companies, I was getting rejected by McDonald's for a part-time job. They rejected me straight after the CV review. Can you believe that? That's how bad my CV was.
That's how
One day, that's
competitive
it. Part-time job. I couldn't flip
Maybe
burgers.
that company does not like people in finance.
Probably. I hope so. I hope that was it and not because of my CV or anything else. But yeah.
So, investment banking. What do you think are the other fields you can go into with an econ and finance degree?
Ooh, that's the thing. I think a lot of people today, like Pranav says, they come to university, especially in their first or second year, they're quite attracted towards the flashy things, which is IBD, sales and trading, yada yada yada. But the financial services industry, if we talk about it, it's so wide. There's so many players, there's so many different types of roles. I mean, it's almost countless at this point. So there's so many things you can do. And I'm sorry, what was your question again?
Different roles.
Yeah, different roles. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So when I was applying as well, I was quite fixated on these roles. But when I joined Nationwide, I joined in the credit risk team.
Okay.
And what Nationwide does, they deal primarily in fixed income. So that's asset-backed securities as well as bonds. And it was a completely new world for me. It's like, oh wait, I've never heard of these things. I mean, I have heard of these things, but I didn't know there was so much depth to it. So, I mean, it's very hard to answer that question because again, it depends on what you're interested in. But I'm just going to echo what Pranav said, is just to broaden your horizons because, IBD and sales and trading, it's not the end of the world if you don't get in. But if you're still interested in that, there's a lot of other routes into those fields, and that could be the wider financial services industry. There's so many players out there, Aditya, I can't mention if I start. But yeah, there's a large variety of roles. So again, I'd say align your interests and do your research because getting into those the very niche, high in demand places is kind of tough and it is demotivating at times. But I find it's more often not the best way to get in as well. You can obviously get through another division, come in as well. So you can apply anywhere. I mean, but I'd say do your research and find out what roles are there because there's so many. I can't start. If I start naming them, it's going to be a long time here. But yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, that's what I felt because before I decided my degree, I was wondering what all different jobs could I get after my degree or what are the various fields. For me, I'm studying economics and politics, and then I realized in politics there is international affairs, which is very much dependent upon the finance industry. For example, the war affecting the price of grains as well as the petroleum, how it affects the business. So I wouldn't say just stick to something specific. Try to broaden your horizon of different opportunities you can get.
Yeah, I would just like to add one more point. I would say degree does not matter a lot because if you open your LinkedIn, for example, and then you see people getting so many investment banking internships, and then this is a true story. So I saw a person getting investment banking internship. So I think he was in his first year. I opened his profile. Course he's studying mechanical engineering from Imperial. So I would say definitely it's not the degree which matters, but it's the person. So again, this relates to a point related to this you selling yourself part. So if you're a likable person and if your soft skills are quite strong, I would say definitely regardless of any course you're studying, you can get into any part of finance or any part of other industry as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So coming back to the finance thing, so you said you're doing a placement year right now in Nationwide.
Yeah.
So if I was to ask, like, what is typically a day in your life on the placement?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Because it varies quite a bit, and that sort of reinforces my point. When you're in the financial services industry, there's a lot of it's a very fast-paced environment. There's always new things happening. But I'd say like I could take an average day. I'd say like in my past year. So I'm working in the credit risk team, like I said. So a large part of my role is focused towards reporting. So we do a lot of reporting on the different risks that the society is exposed to. So Nationwide is a building society, which I sort of touch upon later. But different risks that the society is exposed to. And what I do is I sort of use different metrics to analyze those risks. And based off those risks, then I sort of communicate with other teams as to what provisions we need to have in order to mitigate those risks. So that could be simply holding capital, could be hedging some risk, could be other means of mitigating those risks. But that's my role, very central role. But my day-to-day is very varied, Aditya. I kid you not, like, I think I'm waking up. I think next work day is Tuesday, which is two days from today. Yeah. 2 days from today. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I've got no clue. I've got a rough idea what I'm supposed to be doing, but then there could be like 3 other things I'm supposed to be doing at the same time. So it's very fast-paced, very not very fast-paced, but fast-paced, and requires me to be very flexible. But yeah, it's quite exciting for me. I love what I'm doing because I wake up in the morning, I read the news, and I go to work, and it's directly impacting what I'm doing today. Yeah. So, for instance, what happened with Credit Suisse and, UBS acquiring them. Like, we had to sort of offload our positions in those companies, so on and so forth. So, I hope I'm not revealing any confidential information, but...
okay, let's go.
But that happening was directly related to then my work, because credit risk is the risk of a default, like borrower defaulting, right? Yeah. So, it was like instantly with seeing that impact on what the work I'm doing. So very exciting, and I'm quite enjoying it so far. I've got 3-4 months left, and I'm back at university.
Back to school.
And I kid you not, I'm kind of looking forward to it at the same time. But it's like when you're at placement, right? Your weekends are weekends. You're not supposed to submit a coursework on Monday. You can go out, you can have fun. Your work gets done by 5, 6, 7 latest, and then you're having fun. So it's nice. It's having those compartmentalized schedule. But I'm kind of want to come back to university as well. I want to hang out with the friends, study with them as well. I feel like I've made some friends, so it's going to be quite exciting next year. Not to sound like a lower now, but yeah,
definitely.
First year was completely different for me. yeah.
So you have worked in India as well as in the UK. How would you say the work culture is different in both these countries?
Quite proud of them.
Pranav, what's your perspective about this?
About wait.
No, he doesn't work hard. But he's not.
like Priyam. So Priyam is at a higher position. So I have not yet broken into the industry. Yeah. So my internship with the Santander Investment Banking starts from July. So I'll get to see how it exactly is, and then I think I'll be able to answer your question better.
In September, we'll do one more podcast.
Definitely.
And yeah, just sort of reiterate another point is that my experience could be completely different to somebody else. So just based off my experience, that's what I felt. Yeah. Could be different companies, could be different teams as well at the same time. So completely my experience. It's not something that's universal. Yeah. But yeah, that's my experience.
So, what do you think? You see yourself in 5 years?
5 years. Wow. 5 years. I feel like I tend to look at myself at a longer time, right? Because I feel like 5 years, what would I be doing? So I've got university another year. Then I want to do a master's here in the UK. I want to get my studying done all at one go. So I don't want to wait and then come back to studying. So that's 2 years gone. Yeah. And then I think 2 more. I think I want definitely going to be working in the industry. Like I said, I'm still figuring things out. So I see myself in 5 years. I definitely want to be more sort of solidified in the sense of where I want to be. So in 5 years, I want to know where I'll be in the next 5 years. But definitely, I want to be in the industry. I want to be working at big firms is something I want to definitely do. Not saying I'm not working at a big firm. I feel like I'm using a lot of this hedging language. But yeah, definitely sort of going up the ladder as well. Right now, I'm an IP. Want to join as an analyst, move up the ladder, senior analyst, whatever the different corporate ladders are here and there. But I don't know where I see myself in 5 years, if I'm being honest. I've sort of started thinking less, started being less fixated about where I want to be, and I've started focusing more on processes and how I want to be, what I want to be doing.
Okay.
So I'd say in 5 years I want to be a better person, yada yada yada. I don't want to bore you with that soppy stuff, but definitely I'm become more process oriented than goal oriented right now. So yeah, so I don't know where I'll be in 5 years.
You're counting 2 years of studies, and the 5th year will be like arranged marriage.
That's my plan.
That's my plan also, bro. But I've got enough bad experiences. I think it's all
Let's leave
done.
that for a
I'm
later.
retired. I'm retired.
Retired from
Yeah.
freedom.
Well, yeah, I could come out of retirement for the right person, but yeah, but
Quit your job right now.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
your main priority.
Yes. First build societies, then build house, then build your house.
Oh wow, I'm gonna use that code. Focus on building a society. Yeah. No.
Imagine too many houses.
I'm telling you, there's someone out there waiting for me to sweep them off their feet. Well, let's see. Yeah.
Where do you see yourself?
Myself in 5 years, I would say, so since I'll be graduating next year, so 1 year is there, and then like Priyam, I also want to do a master degree, probably from the UK itself, so
Okay.
probably I think 1 year of that, and then I would say, if I like working in investment banking division, I would say I would continue in that division for let's say 2-3 years, and maybe in 5 years I would say maybe investment banking division, but maybe a higher role. But if not investment banking division, then definitely I'll look into other options like private equity or something else, because for private equity you need investment banking prior experience as well. That's what people say. So I don't know yet because I have not done investment banking or private equity. But yeah, I would definitely say maybe investment banking with a higher role, or maybe something along the line of the same division itself or the same field. So definitely finance, but like maybe private equity, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. I hope. I wish you all the best.
He'll lead it. I'm kidding.
I definitely need it.
And in the West, like UK, US, or back in India, where do you think you'll work?
So I would say 5 years definitely get more exposure to West, because since I'm here, why not utilize all the opportunity, right?
Right.
So because if I could have done an internship back home as well, but if I have the opportunity to apply to internships in UK, so that's what I did, and then I was finally able to land a role here.
Okay.
And so I would say I would like to take more advantage of being here, so definitely get more industry knowledge about what exactly here, because here it's much more fast paced, I would say, in India, because London, like I said, mentioned before, is the second most like financial hub after New York City. So definitely, like I would say 5 years, the next 5 years maybe work in the UK itself, and then let's see where.
Government job waiting.
Definitely not government job.
Government job, arranged marriage.
Okay, definitely not government job, but yeah,
Oh, wow.
something along corporate finance itself. Yeah.
Okay. What's my job? Okay. So, I've got a few more questions. Like, do you have any regrets?
Oh, wow. Wow. Damn, okay. Do you have any regrets? Oh my god, I've got so many. But I've tried to...
And in terms of your finance thing.
Okay.
Not in life.
Nah, I mean... Okay, I'm gonna sound very philosophical, but I feel like after a point, I stopped looking back, and think of what I could have done differently. I try to be more forward-looking. There was this quote that stuck in my head, the only time you look back is to see how far you've come, and not otherwise. So, to be honest, I probably have a lot of regrets, a lot of the things I could have done differently, but then I wouldn't be here talking to you today. So I feel like I'm not going to get too philosophical, but I think there's, things have a way to just get done, and it's just looking forward and doing the best you can in the moment is probably the best advice I could give to myself and to anyone out there as well. But yeah, that's how I got here, and that's where I'll end up. That's how I'll end up wherever I end up. So yeah, regrets. Nah, stop thinking of those. I'll be very honest. In finance.
We'll talk about life after the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, like Priyam mentioned, everything happens for a reason. So I would say I don't have any particular regret, but yeah, obviously
What about
I would be
the
lying.
Okay.
Porcupine haircut.
I will work with that porcupine, but
Looks good, bro. Looks good.
thank you.
Let's be very honest.
Yeah.
I know it's unscripted, but let's be honest.
It's not good. Yeah, but yeah, I would say like in terms of finance itself. So in my second year, what I did was I was quite lazy. So when I was applying to different internships, So how the application process was, you apply using a CV, cover letter, and then it goes ahead. I was quite lazy in the sense was that I use the same cover letter format for almost all the companies.
Okay.
Like in a row, like 5 to 10 companies, and I didn't tailor my cover letter to the company itself, the company values. And this was something I felt that I should have done differently, because it's not about it's all if you're applying to any summer internship, it's about the numbers game. It's although you apply to a lot of internships as well, but you should also make sure that it's quality over quantity.
Okay.
So it's quite important, like when you're applying for summer internships, you should not feel that okay, I got rejected. You should not feel that why did I get rejected. You should understand the reason behind it. You got rejected because your CV and your cover letter was not tailored to the company. So and that was something you needed to work on. I didn't realize this until quite late, and then afterwards I spoke to many people, senior people, and then they told me that it's quite important to tailor each and everything, because right now, like you know what's happening in UK, that the economy is not doing so well and there's been so many job cuts and etc. So it's quite hard to get an internship.
Okay.
So definitely I would say if your quality is quite good and it's up to date, definitely it'll help you to compete with other students as well. And definitely I would say take each and every stage of every application process quite seriously, and don't just get lazy, like okay, let's just apply for the sake of it. Apply and make sure the quality is of it's of high quality, your application of high quality, so that you don't regret it later. And another one I would say that like you have to broaden your horizon and definitely apply to roles in different divisions like accounting, this insurance, the risk, operations. There's so many different fields in finance. So don't get your mind stuck only on one part of it, like how I did in investment banking division. Luckily I got it, but I would say that was not the right approach, I would say, because after a certain point you get after you start getting a lot of rejections, it starts playing in your mind itself. You start like questioning itself, like why am I here, why am I getting rejected, like there's no point in applying to internships anymore. But if you broaden your horizon, it's like I would say managing a portfolio. If you go all in tech industry, either you'll earn a lot of returns or it might go all down. But if you have different sectors, so that's how I would say the internship procedure is application procedure is well, that you apply to different roles like accounting, insurance, risk. So these all are like low to high, and then you might get into something and then you feel confident as well, like okay, I got into this at the end you can decide that if you want to pursue that internship or not, but you'll feel positive about your approach. And then this different, like you've been applying to different internships, so I would say this is something I regret in terms of finance, but yeah.
I also have a very funny incident regarding self-introspection. So before I came over here, I made my CV. And he's actually a gem of a person. He helped me out with my CV.
I mean,
and not the previous one. So apparently my format was not right, and I had my picture in it. So I applied to quite a lot of jobs and I got rejected. First I thought it was maybe my face or something. So I changed the picture, and then again I was getting rejected. Then I was like, no, maybe it's my CV. So it's very important to have a LinkedIn profile as well as a very good strong resume. Please ensure that.
definitely.
Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
I think we covered most of it.
That was perfect then. Thank you everyone for watching today's episode. I hope you learned something. If not, then you had a good laugh.